Welcome back to another episode of the IndieFilm Insider podcast. In today's episode, we talk with writer and director Hadley Hillel. Hadley has built for himself a distinct voice in the world of indie filmmaking, and he previously collaborated with pop artist Chappell Roan. He worked with her to make iconic music videos like Casual and My Kink is Karma. We discussed how that collaboration came together, as well as the differences between making narrative films, commercials, and music videos. We also discussed what he's doing to prepare for his upcoming feature film. If you want more episodes like this, make sure to like and subscribe. And without any further ado, let's hop into our conversation with Hadley Hillel. Hadley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and, I guess who you are as a filmmaker and like what you've done and just what life is like down there in LA right now.
Yeah. So I'm Hadley. I'm a writer-director based in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Seattle, and I started making movies when I was like very young, like 7 or 8. And I got a lot of really bad movies out of the way early, which was a lucky break. And then basically I went to college in LA and I started making more short films. And I'd say the style of films that I make are kind of like dramatic, darkly comedic stories set in surreal fantasy worlds. So, and like a lot of them explore grief or the different sort of coping mechanisms that people have for grief. But yeah, I've done a number of short films and a number of music videos for Chappell Roan. And now I'm working on my first feature.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Did you what made you sort of want to get into film in particular? Was it like just grew up watching movies, or did you, I guess, kind of just pick up a camera one day and then kind of felt like it was your, I guess, creative outlet?
Yeah, I think it was really just this feeling of having stories in my head that I wanted to tell. Like I remember growing up, I would always like do these elaborate elaborate epics with all of my toys, and my parents would like walk into my room as a tiny child, and I would have like people on cliffs. It was all very morbid. Like a lot of people died, high body count in my in the early epics. But I feel like then my dad started. He's a teacher and a lecturer at the University of Washington and a doctor, and so he would teach these classes, and he would make these little films for his lectures. And I sort of stole the camera one day and started running around with it and filming toys, and basically that was what led into just like telling stories in that medium. And I found it so satisfying and incredible. Once I started, I kind of stop.
Awesome. And then
that's kind of how a lot of people start.
Yeah. And then obviously we're going to talk about music videos in a second, but just to like, is film kind of like what you want to do within this industry?
Yes. Film and writing, directing specifically within film, I'd say, narrative film is sort of the end game. I think just the way that I grew up watching movies and being so moved by films, that is my dream to make those, to make longer narrative form stuff.
Nice. Do you so you also write a lot of these films too? And then do you have a thing you prefer more? Like, do you prefer to like when you're filming, are you kind of more of a, I guess, what do you say? Sorry, because some directors like to be more hands-on with the camera, more hands-on with like the visual storytelling aspects of it. Do you think you're kind of more for like there for the story, as in like the writing, or are you kind of there more for like the? Do you like the? I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you think yourself more of a visual filmmaker or more of like a story-based filmmaker? If that makes any sense.
Ooh, it does. I mean, I guess I think of myself as both, and I think both are really important. Like they're sort of tied together. Like I feel like I have a very heavy hand in like the visual storytelling and the visual style of my work, but I think it all comes from like it's all rooted in story, and it's all rooted in like building worlds that really serve what the character is going through or reflect internally what is happening. So I would say like I would say my initial focus is just like getting a strong story, and then I would say I'm not hands-on with the camera as much. I'm more hands-on with the production design. That's sort of another thing that I do on the side. Is I do like some production design, some set decoration, art department stuff. So yeah, that's the side where I'm like very specific.
I could definitely tell that you have a hand in the production design, because I watched your short film Ernie, and I think the entire thing is like cardboard or something like that. I thought that was super cool though, and so I think that like for me, my films I think tend to kind of lack on that side. It's very much just wherever we'll film in a garage, and then everything that's there already we'll just film it. We'll film the way it is. But I think that having the intentionality and the control over your sets is super important. It gives you a much more you can get much more in depth with the sort of stories you're trying to tell. So yeah, no, hats off to you. I think you do a great job of that.
Thank you so much. I feel like that's always one of the most fun things or like challenges I give myself is like, okay, how do I make whatever this story is or whatever this world is feel distinct and different and like something that we haven't really seen before. Even if it's a story that is, you know, universal, it's like how can it be visually interesting and unique in a way that sort of transports people out of our world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool with the cardboard, because I don't know, it's very simple, but it's very effective. And then I think that going into your later work, you can definitely tell that like you still have that same mentality when it comes to the control that you have visually over the sets. I don't know. I think I think a lot of student filmmakers try to I don't think they try hard enough with that. Or not that they don't try hard enough, but I don't think they really fully understand that like there's a lot of important, I don't understand this fully either. But there's so much to be found just in the actual world behind your characters. You know, we focus on the person that's on the screen, but not like, I don't know. I love stuff that happens in the background too. I love when there's characters interacting in the background and like important things happening while the character is, you know, off doing something else.
I love when there are visual jokes happening in the background of something where it's just like, yeah, it's all background action, but it's like hilarious. I love it. I love it when you can work that stuff in there. I'm always looking for little ways to add that. I actually feel like I that's something I'm excited to do in like the feature. The feature that is, you know, that I've been working on is like to find ways to sneak that in and do more visual gags and background stuff.
Yeah. In terms of the feature, what can you tell us about it right now?
Yeah, so the feature is about a man who accidentally injures his child during an OCD spiral, and he checks himself into an experimental treatment facility that implants a chip into your brain that allows you to see your OCD as a monster. And so it is him coming to terms with this physical monster of his OCD that grows as he does the compulsions or shrinks if he doesn't, and how he goes on a journey to sort of confront and overcome it. So it is based on my own experience. I have OCD, and it was based on my own experience doing an intensive outpatient program a couple years ago that really was one of the most wild experiences of my life, just in terms of the ways that treatment works and the ways that you are sort of forced to face your fears in it, and the way things are sort of crazily manufactured to force people to like relive their darkest fears is very interesting. So I thought it'd be a fun thing to turn into a feature and sort of crank to the highest level.
Yeah. So talking with you know, Luca Pizzalea, who did the OCD short film, I definitely had the I think I knew a little bit better. I didn't think I knew a little bit better, but I also still had this notion that OCD was the, you know, oh, I like things neat, I like things clean,
right?
Not the actual like debilitating if this thing doesn't happen this way, or if this thing like, you know, just the actual reality of it. So I think that, do you think with this film you're trying to raise more awareness to the actual reality of OCD? Because I think a lot of people they hear OCD and they kind of think of it as like a little, you know, like, oh, a lighthearted kind of a, you know, I like things to be centered kind of a thing.
Right. It's like, I feel like it's like a punchline in a bunch of like comedies, and it's been, I feel like we've all seen the neat OCD, the hand washing, like contamination OCD, but like those are really the only two that have been depicted in mainstream media. And I feel like what was so interesting to me was going into this program and realizing like, oh my God, there are so many different types of OCD that can affect people in so many different interesting ways. And the treatments are all wildly different. yeah, it's fascinating to see. And so, yeah, I think that really is my goal with this film, is to raise awareness for it. And I don't even think I have a single person who has the like meat or contamination like types of OCD. It's every different, they're called like OCD themes. All the themes in this movie are all different than things that are depicted in mainstream media, just because I feel like that's what is so interesting about it, and what's so rarely depicted. So yeah, I'm really excited. And it's fun too, because in the way that in the sort of setup of the movie, there gets to be these like physical manifestations of everyone's different OCD themes. So like all the monsters have different things that like, you know, ones about like the religious scrupulosity have like Bibles and like rosaries and other stuff, or like, you know, the contamination one would have like a hazmat suit. You know, they all have like different looks.
Yeah, that's cool. Is it kind of like it's kind of like Pennywise, where Pennywise he takes the form of your greatest fear. So if you're afraid of clowns, then he's a clown. If you're afraid of basketball, he's a basketball. You know.
Yeah, kind of.
That's kind of cool.
I feel like it's kind of like Pennywise. It's kind of like a boggart from Harry Potter, where it becomes your greatest fear. Yeah, it like embodies that. Cool.
Where are you in the pre-production of that right now? Like, do you have a script yet, or are you like already done with the script and like moving on? Like, where are you at with the?
I've done 2 drafts, and I'm working on a third right now. Just sort of condensing it, tightening it up, and then the goal is to take that out this year and basically see if we can get some funding. I pitched it to a number of places, but it's sort of just tightening up the script and getting it to a place where it really works, and then taking it out. So the goal is to be in production in the next like year and a half.
Awesome. What do you like kind of want I mean, obviously as high as possible, right? But like, what is the realistic budget number you're shooting for? Like, is this going to be like $1 million thing? Is it going to be like 5 or like $500,000?
I mean, I feel like it will probably be as much money as I'm able to get for it, is probably the answer to that. I think it can be done for a number of different budget levels. And the nice thing about it is it's all, or most of it is in this one location, which is this like treatment center. So yeah, I think it really depends on what money we're able to fundraise, honestly. I think ideally 1 to 2 million, but we'll really just have to see.
Nice. Because I think that I think it's a strong idea for a if it is mostly one location, because I am writing a script right now that's kind of in the same boat where it is primarily one location. And I think for a long time I was struggling with like, because we haven't done a feature yet. We've only done a handful of short films, and I do want to do a feature in the next, you know, maybe like 2 years ish.
Yeah.
And the hardest part is like, you'll write a script and you'll be excited about it, and then you look at it and you're like shit, I have like 7 locations, like how are we gonna do this, you know? Or even more than that sometimes. So I think for what's so important is we had a guy on a little bit ago actually, and he talked about you should write for what you have write for what you have access to, but not what you have the budget for. So, you know, if you have you have an uncle who owns a cafe, then, you know, write a scene or a short film or whatever in that cafe, and then just worry about the rest of it later, like worry about the actors and everything later. So if you think you can have access to, you know, like a rehab or, you know, rehabilitation, whatever the center you're saying, then yeah, I mean, write for that and then go from there. But yeah, I think you have a super strong concept for that first feature.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel like it'll really be contingent on finding a good location for this facility. And yeah, I feel like I'll need to find somewhere very weird. Probably not an actual treatment facility. Probably something weird and different that will like repurpose into that. But yeah, it'll be very location based for sure.
Yeah, because we've also gone through that process a couple of times. Because like Jake has like a feature film written that was going to be the first one like a while ago, but something that we always do with even the shorts is like, it's easy because we have different roles within the productions, right? So he's mostly the writer, director, creative type. I do a lot of DP work and some producing work. And it makes it easy for him to write with kind of, like you said, like no limitations, just what he feels like doing naturally. And then I come in, I'd be like, hey, so that's not going to be feasible. It's a lot easier when you can kind of separate it into like writer brain and producer brain. And then sometimes when you don't necessarily have a producer locked in yet, or you might want to do it all yourself, it is a little bit harder to enter that kind of producer brain space because you wrote it with whatever you did in mind, and now you might have to change it because of something stupid like logistics or availability. But yeah, I think it's for anybody watching that kind of does struggle with like maybe your production design isn't good enough, or maybe it's not what you're up to, rather try writing in locations that you have access to, like with the producer brain type thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip, and I feel like my first pass of things is usually like write for what the best version will be for the story within reason. Like, don't set it in space if you know that you're working with a very limited budget, but set it where it feels the best, and then you always can come in and do sort of a second pass, which is what I usually do, where I'm like, okay, now in a more producerial like brain, what is actually doable, what's possible, and ideally it's something that was already in the world you are in or something close to you that you're able to use, and then you can just sort of pare down as needed or have a great producer come in and help you make those changes while keeping the story intact.
Yeah, we have a few friends up here in Northern California that are, we were working with a guy who was writing a script, and he he wrote maybe a couple pages of it, or a couple, like the 2 or 3 pages of it, and then he just completely kind of stopped because he was like, I don't think we can film it. And I always thought I'm trying to tell him, like, it's better to have a script that you can't shoot than it is to have just no script at all.
Right.
And so, I think a lot of people do get hung up in just like, oh, I don't know how to film this. I'm like, dude, just write what's best for the story. Make it could be $150 million feature or short film or whatever it is. Like, just write it out and then worry about that later, because there's always a way to film something similar. And as long as you have that story there, then you can always workshop it later. But I've always thought that was a good tip too. It's just like, even if you can't finish, or even if you can't film it, you might as well write it, because and if you don't ever make anything of it, it's at least good practice. And then you also have it there for when you can make it. So
right,
it'll always be made at some point. Just gotta stick with it.
Right. There's always ways to like take the core story in something that's too big to shoot and like find creative ways to condense it down. So I don't know. I think it really just depends on the person. I mean, if you can write something you're excited about based on a location that you have, or like your uncle's cafe or something, I think that is an awesome idea. And it's like I feel like the whole game with filmmaking is just like, how can you eliminate the barriers and the gatekeepers to actually making the thing? And I feel like if you can, because there's so many hurdles you have to overcome with just making a film in general, and I feel like if you can remove one of those hurdles, which is like location and budget, immediately, absolutely do it. But but I feel like it is a little dangerous sometimes to like get fully in that mode, because then, like you said, like people kind of just go like, well, I can't shoot this, and they stop.
And
and
also
there's always a way.
I try not to ever throw away any ideas too. So I think a script I wrote, or actually no, it was a film that we were shooting. And you'll remember this. It's called Truth or Consequences, and the plot basically, it's all over the place. I don't really understand what the plot was supposed to be, but the core of it is that this guy gets kidnapped, and then he gets locked into this other guy's like chicken coop. And the reason why he's like locked in this chicken coop is because he's like a dangerous guy. He's done like a terrible thing. And then we filmed that, and then nothing ever. I think actually I played the guy. I think I was acting in it.
Yep.
So yeah, no wonder it didn't get finished, because I suck at acting. But anyway, 2 or 3 years later, we we don't finish it or anything. It's like a half finished film. But then we start writing a new short film, and that idea kind of comes back of like, well, what if we have someone who, it starts out with this character and he's locked up or he's beaten up, and you have no idea who he is, or you kind of feel bad for him because it's like, oh my god, this guy's beat up, like why is he all beat up, why is he running away from this place? And then as the story progresses, you actually learn that like, oh wait, no, that guy is like quite an evil bastard, and he deserves it. But then it's like, it kind of plays with your mind of like, who really deserves what, or like how far is too far. But that idea eventually did come back, even though the film it came from completely sucked.
Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, I feel like that is the other thing too, is just like make a version of something. You can always go back and rethink it, but it's like, yeah. I mean, I'm sure part of that idea wouldn't have come to you had you not done that first thing that you never finished. But you did it. You like tried. You took a swing at it, and I feel like that's so important.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that would be my tip: is just never throw away anything. Never throw away any ideas.
Never throw away anything ever.
Ever hoard. Be a hoarder.
Hoard.
Hadley, is this your first crack at a feature? And not even necessarily in terms of like actually planning to make it, but like, is this the first one you've written, or have you had experiences like that where you have to abandon it and maybe resalvage parts of it later?
It's interesting. I've written, I guess I've written 2.5 features. So I've written this, and this was the first one that I completely finished. There was another one that I was working on for years that I got about 60 pages into, had a very detailed outline for it, but they were just like things I was getting stuck on. And also, that's part of the reason that I ended up going to OCD intensive, like outpatient therapy, is because my OCD latched onto my creativity, and like it was just right OCD, which is basically a version of like perfectionism, where it's like it has to feel right before you can move on, but that's so dangerous in art, because when is it ever right? And so it was sort of sucking the creative joy out of the process for all these years. And so what's funny is that and very fitting, is that this feature about OCD is actually the first feature that I completed and finished because I was able to like tame the OCD enough to write it. So in and of itself is sort of a victory, and it's very much about my experience in it. Like the main character is like a children's book author who has had a big success and is under a lot of pressure to deliver again for something as silly as a children's book, but he is like just lost in it. And so that's his journey. So yeah, so that's so I've written a number of them is the answer.
Very nice. What is this is just a random question, but what would your OCD monster look like?
Oh God. This is a good question, because I had to think about this a lot for the main character. Mine would be a little different than his though. I think it would probably be blue, and I think it would
Why blue?
Some of it, I mean, that's what I decided on the main character's monster. Honestly, it just like feels like it feels like he would just be like hiding. I feel like he's hiding in corners and closets, and like he's sort of just like blending into the darkness a little bit, because he doesn't want to stand out. So I don't know. I guess that's why blue. It's weird. I don't totally know why. And then I think he would have I think he would be very put together on the outside, like, because his whole thing would be like, I'm not the problem. Like, I'm actually helping you. That's it. That's the whole angle that I feel like is the lie that I was telling myself for years. Is like, this is why you're able to do good work. And so I feel like he would have like a very put together jacket or something over it, but if you opened it, it would be full of like papers and crazy insane notes and like weird, like the cracks would start to show, and you would start to see that this person is a little bit more troubled than you think.
The manipulation OCD monster.
Yeah, a little bit of gaslighting for sure. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I thought to ask that because, like, I think that I'm sure you probably had thought of that at some point too, just while you were writing it.
Yeah. It's a good. It's a good question though. Why blue? I don't know. Just feels right, honestly. it's funny. A lot of
filmmaking decisions are just that though. Like, you'll watch a famous movie and it really, like, there's an iconic prop or something. You're like, oh, why'd they choose that like shade of color for this prop? And then like you'll find an interview with the director or whoever made that decision, and they'll say like, oh, we just thought it looked good on camera,
right?
And then you'll watch like a 3-hour video essay where it's like the blue symbolizes the person's mysterious nature. It's like, people overthink a lot of these smaller details, but a lot of it is just like, yeah, I mean, it looks cool, and that's a valid reason too.
I mean, I also think there's some element of just trusting instinct that
Mm.
I feel like over time, like there have been things that I've chosen because I've just been like, this feels right, and then later I'll go back and realize like, oh, that subconsciously must have totally been why I picked that, But I feel like some of it's not even conscious in the moment.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
that's a huge thing with like cinematography too. Like there are some like I guess logical kind of decisions, like the rule of like the that kind of um like drive why we think something looks good, right? Like rule of thirds or whatever that spiral thing is called.
Right, right.
um um but it's just like a lot of the times, especially when you're like composition or a lot of the time lens choice too, like different lens choices of course can mean different things, but a lot of time it's just like, oh, this is what I have access to and this is what I think looks good. And then yeah, you will have a ton of like people afterwards be like, oh, this composition is because I saw one like earlier today. I don't know, have you guys seen Citizen Kane?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they were
Long time
talking.
ago.
Yeah, they were talking about the shot where the young main character is like playing outside, and it like kind of dollies back from
Right.
the window to reveal them. And I saw like a really like deep analysis of that shot. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's plausible that it was that, but what are the odds it was just they had access to a dolly and they thought it looked cool? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the one weird thing about that movie is that like I can't tell whether Orson Welles was just like, I mean, I think he was just kind of a genius with the way he
yeah,
built those things, but I feel like also there's so many tricks in there that have just stood the test of time so well. Like that shot holds up now when you watch
oh
it
yeah.
in such an interesting way where you're like, how was this done this long ago? It feels so modern and interesting, and people have been stealing from it forever. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's funny. Who knows how much of that was logical and like kind of thought out ahead of time, or just like just gut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen stuff like that all the time, and I saw one where it was like, oh, I wonder if the director ever thought of that. Like someone should tell the director that that's the reason why he did that, because it'll be like this super long analysis of like why these decisions were made on a film set or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, I'll be honest, I don't know if I always feel like I should think more about stuff like that. Like, when if I'm gonna have a character do this thing, maybe we should try to put more intention into certain things, like certain details. There's one I'm still pretty proud of where a character, this is the movie was called I'll See You Again, and the character throws this his mother dies. Like, the story is like he's grieving his mom, and he is trying to, I guess, just ignore her and get rid of her, like, out of his mind, so that he can live his life and not have to worry about the stress of grieving her. And he's cleaning this plate, and the plate is clean, but he's still cleaning it. Like, he's still just trying to make himself do something, and he gets frustrated and he starts scrubbing harder and harder and harder, and then he gets really just pissed and he throws the plate, and then it just shatters everywhere. And then he goes and picks it up, and then, like, the movie continues, and then later in the movie we cut back to that area where the plate was thrown, and we see like one little shard of plate still there. And it's I think that was like an actual conscious decision to be like, oh, we're symbolizing that even when he tries to pull his life together, he's still forgetting about the one thing that he needs to address, which is like his dead mom. And so like that's the only time I would think I really put that much effort into anything like that.
But we also came up with that on set too. Like, that was not a forethought. Like, I think we would just like organize the set logically, so it's like do this location and this location and this location, and like different scenes took place in the second one. And I don't know if it was me or you or someone else on set, but we were just like, hey, what if there's just like still a shard of plate there? Because like that was not something that we thought about before, actually, before the shoot day.
Yeah, sometimes it just clicks into place. I feel like especially with symbolic things like that, sometimes it's just like, wait, this would be perfect. We should absolutely do this. Or you're in the space sitting there, and something like that just sort of comes to you. Yeah, that's
Because
awesome.
you have access to all of your props like right in front of you. You're like, oh, what if we just kind of put that like in that place too? It's like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the obviously the music videos you've done for a little bit. So obviously the two, because you've done 2 music videos and a live performance with Chappell, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then something I did notice that was really cool about the music videos is that they are like they are some of the more narrative driven music videos I've seen, because a lot of people do have the kind of like, oh, we should make this a film, but it's a music video. But I think you did it really well, and if you go in the comments too, there are a lot of people like giving you praise for that, and I think you executed it really well. Did I guess first, how did you meet or get in contact with Chappell in the first place?
So that's actually a crazy thing. I've known her since she was like 16, and we both went
Oh,
to the
really?
same like youth film music camp. I was teaching there, and she was a camper when we first met, and then like over the years, we actually ended up like becoming roommates for a period of time where we lived in the same house in Glendale for years, and then yeah, so we already knew each other. We've been friends for years,
Mhm.
and basically she got dropped by her label and was sort of trying to figure out what to do with releasing her music and building these worlds that she wanted to build. And so we ended up working together on her first video, which was My King is Karma, and we just sort of started doing it in the time we had and with the resources we had, and we shot that in the house that we had both lived in.
Mm.
We shot in the same house because it was a free location, right?
Yeah.
Where I was still living there, and then yeah, over time, we did these videos. Her songs are so intricate and smart in the way that they're written, and then also she has such an eye for sort of world building and cool characterization. And so I feel like our minds together, it was just a lot of fun to work with her and to sort of find ways to subvert the expectations of each song, and make the video something that added a layer that wasn't already in the song. And so you kind of go and see the video, and then it like makes you rethink how you've been hearing the song. Was sort of the goal. But yeah, it's been lots of years, and we just started working together that way with no money and everyone working for free. And then she got picked up by a label, and the videos kept happening, and we went from there.
Nice. I mean, I want to talk about the transition from filming, or sorry, from doing films to music videos. Did you find it to be, because I think what Owen was saying and what's true is that you did approach them very narratively. It does feel like a short film. I think the casual music video is like, it's like 7 minutes long, and the song's only like a couple. It's like shorter, so
Yeah.
there's some actual stuff going on there. And so I guess like, what was the first off, like what was the like why did you make that decision for that particular song, and then also like what was it like being more like, because when you're doing a music video, you're actually like adapting from a source material, like you have a thing you're working with versus like an original idea. So just talk about like, yeah, the differences, and then kind of like why you went the way you did with those narrative
Yeah.
choices.
Well, I think that I definitely make music videos in a different way than a lot of other people do, in terms of like approaching them in a very narrative way. Like I break them down like I break down a script or a short film. Like I put the beats on note cards, and I put them on a board, and I move them around, and it is very narrative in the way that I approach it. The thinking, I mean, I feel like one of the reasons for that is that there is so much narrative in the songs, and there's so much storytelling being done with the lyrics that I feel like there were just a lot of narrative possibilities to explore that and ways to play off of the lyrics of the song. And then also just I think something we both love as artists is creating worlds that are really distinctive and unique, and sort of finding ways to put different elements together that wouldn't necessarily be the first thing you'd think of. And so I think that like especially for casual, it was like, okay, we both sort of know what the obvious literal version of this song would be. So what's a way to subvert that expectation and do it in a different way? And like that's how we landed on like Siren Love Story. Like Queer Siren Love Story felt like a very interesting way. Like, okay, this is a toxic relationship, but like cranked to the max. Because and like having that basically be a metaphor for like cheating and toxicity, and somebody who is basically used to being with men, then being with a woman, and then running back to men in the end. It was a very interesting thing to explore. So I think it really was just served. I think it really was served by the song, and then it was sort of that as a jumping off point and building a narrative around that.
I think that's really cool, and I can see what you're saying when you're saying it's like a subversion of like the first thing you'd go to, because when I watched that video, like probably I don't even know when I watched it like a while ago, and so it's cool to talk to you now, but yeah, I watched it at sometime a few, like probably a couple months ago, or like maybe last year, sometime, I don't know, a long time ago, and then I don't know, I was just like, this is not like the song. When I think of the song, I have like kind of like a visual that's like in my head of like what's going on, and then like the choice to make it like in the beach and then underwater, and the filming underwater was really cool too. We'll talk about that because I'm very curious about how you did that. But I don't know. I thought that it was really well done, and I think that it was super bold way to do it as well. I think a lot of people might be afraid to kind of jump to that because it's like, oh, this is like too different. But I think it's so different that it almost feels like there's no other way you could make that music video. Like, it feels like it kind of just has to be that way, you know?
That makes
any sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. Thank you. I feel like that's the dream, to hear that, because that was our goal, was to sort of find a way to reframe it so that once you see it, you kind of can't unsee that version of it, and it sort of gets reflected back onto the song. So yeah, I think that makes me really happy to hear. And we had a lot of fun pulling in the different pieces and finding ways to visually make it different, because I think it ultimately just came from a place of us not wanting to see the version of the literal representation of that song. You know, I feel like we both were like, well, we know what that would look like, so what's the next more interesting thing, you know?
Exactly. And then how did you do the underwater stuff, out of curiosity? Like, was that like in a pool? Did you get a space for that?
Was in a pool.
Was it the ocean?
It was not. Well, they did go into the ocean for one shot in that, but that was like, we literally had one take to do that sort of siren pulling the fisherman underwater moment.
Yep.
And it was January and freezing cold, and it was actually, it didn't at all go the way it was planned, and it looked way better in the end the way it worked out, because when they were going into the ocean, there was a sandbar that just ended, and so they were like walking back into the ocean, and the siren just fell off this sandbar into the water, and just like basically went under way sooner than she expected to. But it sort of feels like the sea just swallows them, which was perfect. But yeah, that was our shot we did in the ocean. But for the actual underwater stuff, that was all in a pool, and we heated the pool to a reasonable temperature because it was freezing cold, and our DP did an amazing job lighting that and making it look really surreal and beautiful. And then we just they just would take a deep breath, go underwater, go for as long as they could, and then do it again. And they had to use sandbags to keep them underwater. That was the other thing that was funny. Is like, you don't think about this, but yeah, obviously they were floating up during the takes when they weren't weights. So it was like swimming down, grabbing a weight, and then being able to do the action.
Yeah, that's crazy. I always wonder how you keep it, like when you're doing a performance like that, like how you keep it together when you're underwater and you are running out of air and you're just having to like do these actions. And like, because I don't think, like, none of them have goggles on, so they're doing it like full, like blurry vision. They can't see anything that's happening. They're like, okay, I hope it looks good, and you have no idea how it's going to look until you're out of the water, you know. So I think they did a great job too, the performances. But I know that's I love stuff like that, like just the, like, because you could have easily, like, oh, that would be too difficult to film underwater, we'll just do it all like above ground. But I think like going that extra length, I think really elevates the video.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was really important to have, especially once we figured out, like, okay, this is going to be a siren love story. It was very important to like have something where you see the siren in sort of her domain underwater, and that everything, I mean, the whole video is on her terms. Like, everything is sort of Chappell changing herself to try to meet this other person and become what this other person wants, instead of just being herself. So I feel like that was also part of it.
How much of the kind of conception and development of the idea was you versus her, or did you kind of all work together on everything?
We really worked together in a very collaborative way that was really wonderful. It was like, I think there was an initial phone call and we were talking, and yeah, I don't know. I think I said mermaid, she said siren, and I was like, siren is definitely better, more interesting version of this. And then we found our way into the eating men thing and what that would look like to, yeah, have her sort of have this power over men where they're constantly like absolutely fixated on her and like captivated by her, and what sort of tension that would add. And then yeah, there were. I mean, we had an even more elaborate version of the story. I think the first version of that music video was like basically what essentially would have translated to like a 10-minute short film, where there was like a family dinner scene and like an aquarium moment where all the fish were like looking at the siren and like running from her. And yeah, we had all these other things, but then of course it got pared down as we got into the what was feasible. But yeah, very collaborative experience, and honestly, I think equal parts from both of us.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then so yeah, you did the music videos, and then so what is, because I think we were talking a little bit like when we were trying to figure out this podcast, you mentioned doing like you were shooting for a few days for like a commercial, I think it was.
Yes.
So like what other projects have you done, and then like how do you take your filmmaking mindset and like translate that to other projects like commercials?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the interesting thing about doing commercials and music videos, and it's taught me a lot over the years. Is just like, especially like you said, when you're coming into a music video, you're coming into it, basically work with another artist's art, and you're using that as a foundation, and you're also playing into like their brand, their existing sort of like style, and then sort of finding a way to marry that with you and your artistic lens. And so I feel like, yeah, with music videos, that was a really great exercise in just sort of figuring out just collaboration with another artist. And I think one of the things that was so special about that collaboration was that I feel like we landed in a place that felt like it was, more interesting and more unique and fitting for the song than anything either of us could have done it on our own. Like it felt like it came together, and it really, became something different and something really exciting. And I think it's a similar thing with commercials, where you are coming into someone else's brand, someone else's product, and it really is just like you are brought in to sort of filter all of that through your lens, but it's a collaboration. And it's, in a lot of ways, there are constraints around what you're able to do, and it's sort of just making the most of the pieces you can control to sort of you know filter it through your style. And so for this commercial that I just shot, it was for an amazing YouTuber named Michelle Kare. She does this channel called Challenge Accepted, where she does these incredible sort of different professions, like crazy professions and stunts and all these wild things. And she basically came to me and said, like, we need like a Super Bowl style ad for the channel as a whole. And so it was like finding a way into that was interesting and sort of darkly comedic and poked a little bit of fun at the brand itself in a way that sort of subverted expectation and made it, the whole joke of the commercial is like she's faked everything she's ever done, which is hilarious because she is like doing things in such a realistic, crazy way that one of the only people doing things like that. So, but yeah, it was fun to like flip it on its head and then actually reverse engineer a real stunt she had done in real life and pretend to fake it in a green screen soundstage with like, with all of the different things you need to get that, and doing like reverse VFX to like fake the thing she had done for real. It was very funny, very weird. But yeah, I feel like it was just collaboration coming together and hearing sort of what she imagined, understanding her brand and what the baseline of it all was, and then finding a way to put that in, put my spin on it, which ended up just being a lot of kind of like comedic, ridiculous, absurdist visual gags.
Right.
So yeah, did that
Yeah, I
answer
think
your
you. Oh no, yeah, no, yeah, of course,
good,
yeah, you know, you're good. Yeah, yeah, because I saw you. I think I saw. Yeah, I think I saw you or someone posted about it, and then I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like you did a Super Bowl ad, and I was like, wait, no, it's a Super Bowl inspired ad, and then I was like, wait, no, it's and then I was like, wait, she faked because I thought it was like real. I was like, oh, I think I saw her do that stunt. I didn't know they faked it, so I felt kind of stupid because I was like, it actually fooled me.
There's a lot. There's
But
a lot of layers. There's a lot of layers to all of it. Like
yeah.
the the ad blitz thing basically is like it's like a Super Bowl style ad that's put on the ad blitz channel, which is where they feature all the actual ads from the Super Bowl, and it's like their
Mhm.
like the YouTube version for YouTube creators of a Super Bowl ad. So it's interesting, but
Mm.
yeah, yeah, I feel like it's a fun, interesting way to introduce people to her brand. If you don't already know her, it's funny to go in thinking like, wait, did she faked everything? And then you start to realize when you do a deeper dive, like, oh, I get it.
Yep. Yeah, I got fooled. You got me.
Yeah, is so. What do you do to like as a day job right now? Is it like commercial music video stuff, or do you have something else that you're kind of doing for that?
Yeah, it really is just different commercial projects, and yeah, just various I mean, pitching on things and doing some copywriting as well for ads, some of which have not seen the light of day. But yeah, it's doing that. It's giving some script feedback is another thing that I do. Yeah, it's kind of just a mixed bag of different things, but really mostly is focused on like commercials, some music video stuff, and then mostly just yeah, working on these features
Yeah,
and some
and
art
then
department.
because
It's a mix. It's always a freelance
yeah,
world, right? So it's like art department's
Yeah.
another thing I've been doing. Where yeah, it's kind of just like a random collection of different gigs in different wheelhouses.
hmm yeah. So are you mostly working like for the commercial stuff? Is that stuff you're like pitching to clients and then directing, or is it mostly kind of working on the art department or like the producing side of it?
For the commercial thing, well, I mean, it's funny because I've done both. I've worked in
Mm.
art department on commercials, but I think mostly I'm doing the pitching to clients and then directing. That
Mm.
is sort of the. I mean, I think I sort of did the music videos for a while, and now the transition is really into more commercial work while trying to get the narrative, longer form stuff together and packaged and sent out into the world. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. And then just real quick, going back to your roots, do you ever want to make a project where you go back to Seattle and kind of explore that side of your life?
Yes, I would love
Yeah.
to. I mean, I feel like it was so influential and impactful to my style to grow up in the Pacific Northwest and just sort of
Mhm.
like that the feeling, the trees, the like mountains, just just the sort of just the sort of feeling of growing up there and almost like knowing the sort of the like the secrets behind closed doors and uh the weird possibilities of like almost like supernatural things happening. Like it feels very
Right.
much like Twin Peaks, David Lynch
Right.
stuff. It was a huge
Yep.
inspiration for me because so I think I'd love to do something in that realm that leans a little bit supernatural or yeah, otherworldly, but is rooted in the Pacific Northwest. I think it'd be so fun to go back there.
Yeah, as soon as you mentioned you were from Seattle, I was like, "There's no need to mention, or no need to ask if you're a Twin Peaks fan." Like, I'm just going to assume. I'm assuming you are.
Yeah.
Dude, no, that'd be cool. That's such the aesthetic of the Pacific Northwest, and honestly, like, I think like that's a Twin Peaks is a phenomenal example of using that to its advantage. But I think that it's still very underutilized, and like the rest, like I want to see more stuff from there. It's a cool place. I've been to Seattle like a few years ago, and like all I could think was like, dude, I want to shoot a movie here. Like there's like I wish more people went there and film stuff. It's really cool.
I know it's so cinematic there, and I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges is that the tax incentives just really are
Mm.
not
Mm.
there in the Seattle area, like which is why everyone's gone to Vancouver and why everyone shoots Vancouver or even
Right.
Oregon instead of Seattle. But I love I would love to shoot something in Washington and find a way to make that work. Because it is very distinct and just specific in terms of aesthetic. It's such a good aesthetic.
How much do you know about the tax incentive stuff?
I don't know a ton. I mean, and I think the stuff that I do know is probably a little dated because I haven't been living there and working there for a while. But I do know that there kind of continues to be this push and pull of tax incentive stuff not quite being there, and people shooting in Vancouver or Portland instead of Seattle, or going in for like 2 days to shoot in like the Space Needle, and then everything else is like done as Vancouver for Seattle, which is a bummer. There was a period where it was booming there. There was a period in the 80s where like when like Sleepless in Seattle was happening, where there were like great tax incentives there, and people were really telling a lot of stories in the Pacific Northwest. And now I feel like it has kind of gone to like other areas that are outside of Washington.
Yeah. How long have you lived in LA for?
I've lived in LA since, technically in the LA area since college. So that would be 2014. Yeah. Something there.
Yeah. Because we've talked with a lot of people on the show about kind of, I guess this is like a really grim, dramatic, like the state of the film industry in LA. Because a lot of like people, like you said, go into Vancouver. That's been happening for a long time. But also like people are doing Georgia and Texas because, like you said, of the tax incentives. Do you feel any type of way about if LA is still going to be this the big film hub in say 5-10 years?
Well, I mean, I think it's changing a lot, and I think it's really, I think there's a lot of pieces of the industry that are shifting in major ways right now, and I think it's unclear whether or not it's going to continue to be the film hub. I think unless some pretty different tax incentive stuff happens here, and unless there's some pretty significant changes in the ways that the industry is being run, I think it's going to look very different. But yeah, it is a really interesting. It's a really interesting time, like kind of post streaming boom, to see, especially with the state of film here, and like what those lower budget movies and mid budget movies are going to look like moving forward. But I think LA is such a special city, and I really hope that it is able to continue to be sort of a mecca for film, because I mean that was always my experience growing up, and like visiting here was like, it just felt like this is where dreams could come alive, and this is where films could become reality, and I just think that, it's such an incredible community of people and amazing craftsmen who are all so good at what they do. And so I really hope that for everyone's sake it sort of continues to be this hub of film.
Because I think because I think I heard something a bit ago about California passing new tax incentives, because like from everyone I hear who lives in LA, like shooting down there is a pain, like obviously because there's so many people down there shooting that like people guerrilla filming on the street is kind of a public nuisance at this point. But yeah, because I honestly, Jake, we should do a whole episode on like tax incentive, or like film tax incentives and what they are. Because like for context, I'm a business student right now. Long story, but like I am looking into like learning like accounting stuff and that business stuff. So I feel like that is kind of a perfect collision of my two worlds right there that I can lean into a little bit. And yeah.
Our last movie sucked so bad that he's quitting film and moving into business.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be really cool to do an episode on incentives, and specifically because it's something that I honestly want to learn more about the specifics of. It's not a world I've been super involved in. I've been very lucky to have other people who have dealt with the permits and incentive stuff. But I think it'd be really cool to talk about that and get into the specifics of what it's looking like right now, especially with the industry the way it is. I think it'd be really cool to explore.
Yeah, I'll do some research on it, and we'll get back to you.
Cool. Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, we'll send you a link. So you've been in LA for about 11-ish years, you would say.
11-ish years,
how has LA changed since your time being there? Have been any noticeable changes?
It's a good question. God, I mean, I think I'm trying to think of what the biggest changes have been. I mean, again, I wasn't really in. I was living in Orange County, which is a very different thing for the first like 4 years. But in in like the 6 or 7 years I've been like in LA proper, I would say that a lot of neighborhoods have shifted and have become, I mean, more gentrified, obviously, in the time that I've been here. I think rent has gotten kind of crazy in a lot of areas of LA in a way that is actually making it difficult for artists to like be in the city. So I think that's something that's been pretty clear, and it sort of is changing the demographics of different areas and like making like areas like Silver Lake something that you can really only afford or like start a family in if you are like, you know, in tech and making like a ton of money. So I think that is something that I've really seen. But in terms of just like how the city has changed, I mean, I honestly think that just the thing that I'm most excited about is that the neighborhoods aren't losing their weirdness. Like there still are some bizarre things that have stood the test of time, and like there's a store called Wacko's that is like one of the weirdest stores in LA that always has like bizarre exhibits and like all these oddities and stuff, and I'm like, that store is still alive and well. And there's like, you know, one of my favorite bars is Bigfoot Lodge, which is this like national park like Sasquatch themed bar, and that bar is like in Atwater, and like there's stuff like that that still has a lot of character. So I don't know, I guess I've seen a lot of changes in small ways, but I think the big pieces that give each neighborhood character are still there and alive and well.
That's good. So like the culture is still pretty alive, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I think the culture is the culture of LA. I mean, it's shifted, but I don't think it has changed in a super major way. I mean, beyond just, I think, people being forced to move out of some of these neighborhoods. I think that's been the hardest part.
Yeah, I think, well, whenever I'm in LA, I always bring my laptop with me, and I feel like I write scripts twice as fast. So I'm like, oh, I'm in LA, so I have all the film energy coalescing into my brain.
I
don't know. I wonder if that's like, that probably still feels that way sometimes. So I hope that, you know, as long as the culture is still alive, like I think, you know, and I don't want to sound so, we've had some people on the podcast before where we talk about LA, and then it always has like this dark cloud of like, it's all very gloomy when we talk about it. But no, it still is, you know, you got the Hollywood sign, you still have all the, you know, I still think it's still Los Angeles at the end of the day, and that's how it's going to be, no matter what happens. Yeah. But you know, that's just
I think it's a really special city to live in, and I think the thing about LA that I always tell people is that it's not really one city as much as it is like a collection of smaller cities that all make up this bigger like region, basically. Because I mean, there are people on the other side of the city that I mean, it's like a 2-hour drive or an hour and a half drive to get to them at some points of the day, where like they might as well be in San Diego for most of the week, you know, in terms of just getting to them. But yeah, every neighborhood has so much variety, so much character, and it is a place where you can constantly be finding new things. Like, I'm still finding new places to go and new experiences to have, and you know, I've lived here for a decade. So I feel like that's what's so special about it.
Yeah, and like last time I was in LA, we went to a coffee shop, and I looked out the window, and then Chris Rock walked right by us and like looked me dead in the eye. And then the same day we went to dinner, And as we were leaving dinner, I look over and I see Larry David at this like restaurant we're at. And I'm like, where else in the world are you gonna like have experiences like that? You know? And as long as you're having those random random encounters that are just like, because in Davis, like that would never, like where I live, like that would never happen. Like like I'll run the most, actually no, I did run into the guy who played Hank from Breaking Bad, but that was like the only time anyone of note has been here. But yeah, I mean stuff like that. Where else will you find something like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, LA is still alive for now.
Yeah.
Until Sacramento attacks.
Exactly.
Sacramento takes over. Yeah, Hadley, in terms of, if we go back to music videos for one quick second, if you wanted to give one, I guess, piece of advice to anyone who's looking into entering the music video industry, I know it's not what you do as your main thing, but you're pretty prolific with it. What would you say to somebody who wants to enter that industry?
I would say, I mean, it's my honest advice is it's a tough industry because you're kind of always asked for good, cheap, and fast. And,
Yep.
you know, you're always taught in film school you can only pick two. And I feel like in music videos, it's the one place where you really are asked for all three almost every time. And so I feel like it really is a constant balance of weighing the sort of like finding an interesting take that is also doable within the time and with the money you have. But in terms of overall advice, I guess I would say find a way to really like look into the lyrics of the song and find your specific vision or your specific kind of take on it that was your emotional experience, and see if there's any way you can capture that visually. And I feel like it's always like challenge yourself to think of maybe the next thing, like what is the next version after your initial thought. What might be something that might surprise people, or you know, change how the song could be interpreted? Because I feel like that has been the biggest learning for me, where you know, when I've gone in, the ideas that have gotten me the most excited have been the ideas that have come second, or have been the thing that I wouldn't have necessarily reached for, but I've just sort of you know, forced myself to think outside the box, and I feel like that's been really rewarding. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think that'd be my advice.
Yeah, I guess that's probably holds true with most adaptions, right? Like not just music videos. Have you ever thought of doing that with any of your like narrative projects, like anything along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is sort of, it's a similar lens with which I sort of approach everything, is just always trying to find what is the way that wouldn't be expected, or what is the thing here that can be changed or tweaked to really fit this story or tell this story in a different way. And so I feel like that's what I was kind of saying about like world building, where I always sort of build the worlds around what's going on internally in the characters. But I think there can be some really cool ways to change the world around them in ways you wouldn't necessarily expect. And I feel like that's what gets me so excited with filmmaking, is just finding ways to have the external world be shifted and not just be the one we're used to.
Yeah, we've done a few music videos, and I think that one of the core problems for ours is that it's sort of just like a visual representation of the lyrics. And like what you were saying was so true, and that like kind of clicked in my head, where I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like if you do that, you're basically just giving them what the song already gives the listener. So it's like, okay, cool, I'm watching a music video, but I already like knew all this stuff. Like this is just, I guess, this is the images that were in my head. Now it's on my, you know, phone screen or whatever. So I think that if we ever do want to, I love music videos. I think they're really cool.
Yeah.
And I would love to, you know, do them again. And I think if I did do it again, I would like to do it sort of more of the way that you're saying, where I get to actually, like, you know, I'm a filmmaker. I'm not like a video interpreter to, you know, put the lyrics to screen or whatever. So I would love to do one again. So we just gotta, you know, we'll hit up Sabrina Carpenter. We'll do it right now.
Absolutely. I was gonna say, I feel like it is really a game of how can you come in and elevate what is being given to you from the musician in terms of lyrics, in terms of the story that's there, and then how can you elevate that or change it into something that is interesting and kind of bring your own visual spin to it, because that is, I feel like, the job of a director coming into a music video is how can you bring visual language to this thing and elevate it or change it into something that's even more rich and interesting than what the song is already doing. So yeah, I feel like that's been the biggest lesson.
Just real quick, this will be my last thing about this stuff, but or the music video things. But I think that, or I was wondering if, do you think that doing these music videos has actually helped you a lot as a filmmaker, learning more about how you can use like visual storytelling?
Yes,
if that makes any sense.
It does. It totally does. And it has been, I mean, because you're not using the typical tools of like dialogue. You're using the words of the song as your dialogue, and you're sort of handed that, and then it's like, how do you make that fit into, you know, this other take you have on it? But I think it's been incredibly helpful to just develop a visual language and, you know, a sort of narrative shorthand, because you have to be so efficient in the visual storytelling of music videos. If you're going to try to tell a narrative story, you have to be so smart and intentional about what you show. And I think it's really taught me how to be the most concise and do the most condensed, efficient version of telling a story visually. And I feel like that has just been something that's helped me in every aspect. It helps in commercials, it helps in narrative work. It's just something that, you know, is so helpful once I've sort of learned it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like it's a great way to practice a lot of that stuff too.
Yes.
And the I'm sure you being you know, you with the production design, I'm sure like it allows you to do some pretty crazy stuff that you might not necessarily get a chance to do for a, you know, a narrative, more grounded you know, film.
I think visually it really does let you have sort of a sandbox to play in that is much bigger than what you're used to. It is much more, it can be much more out there and wild and artistic in a way that narrative films are limited in sometimes. And so I think that is the other gift of music videos, is just being able to really try wild visual things. Like it really is about how you can use the visuals to capture a feeling, and it doesn't need to make sense narratively, right? And I feel like that's the cool thing music videos do, is like, really you can get very creative in the way that something is visually told.
Yeah, and the edits too. I mean, you can do edits in a music video that if you were to do the edits in a music video in like a narrative thing, people might be like, "What the hell is this? This is like terrible." So I think you get to really play with like kind of everything. So I mean, I really want to do one now. This is motivating me.
They're so fun. Absolutely. If you can find an artist, or like just even just use an artist's song that, you know, that is out there, and like you know, send it to them and be like, hey, I made this thing. Like, what do you think? It's cool. It's a really cool way to it's a really cool way to just practice those skills.
Yeah, I also feel like it's relatively, because like obviously for the first of anything that you do, you have to kind of do it as a demo, right? So you don't actually get paid for it. I feel like it's a little bit easier for some reason to reach out to artists and offer to make a free music video for them, as opposed to reaching out and doing one for a business for some reason. Because I feel like with the business, there's always like, is my time going to be wasted working on this video? Is it really going to be worth the ROI, in this case, the time? Because obviously you're not spending any money for it. So like, even with free stuff for businesses, there are still really opportunity costs that come with a business wanting to say yes to that. For music, for artists, there's basically none, because like most artists know that music videos are how your songs can kind of like blow up past what you would have been able to do with just the song itself. And if you can kind of reach out to somebody local, an aspiring artist, because I feel like if you send it to like a client to like a possible client, they're pretty easily able to detach the video from the music. So like if the song isn't the best, for example, I feel like somebody looking at that could kind of be like, oh, okay, the song wasn't the best, but the visuals or the direction or the story they were telling, whatever, is good enough to kind of take a chance on them for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also just always worth reaching out, even if you're like this artist would never be interested in something. Like it's always worth making the ask, because I've been really shocked that like artists that I've really respected I've reached out to them and just been like, hey, I'd love to make something for you, and like it's been really cool how open they are to that.
Mm.
So I definitely would say take the swing. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that's how we got connected with Luca. Luca Pizzoleo. I just reached out to him. I was like, hey, I like your stuff. You'd be a great guest on our podcast. And then like within like 30 minutes, he responded. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect for him to respond, because he's got like 20,000 followers or something. I think sometimes people get a bit, they'll see a big follower count, or they'll see like a big project they did. Like this guy did a movie with Stephen Ogg. Like he's not going to waste his time on me. This my puny mortal. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people just they're creatives too, and they want to work. They love working, and I think giving people be like, hey, I have a thing I want to work with you on, or I have an idea for a thing you can do. I think that a lot of people just, yeah, I agree. Take the swing.
Yeah, and I also just feel like there's a real power in putting together a treatment and sort of capturing visually what you're thinking, and then sending that in an initial email to a musician too.
Oh, yeah.
Just be like, hey, here's my take on this. Like, here's what this song brought up for me, and here's what it inspired. Like, I don't know how this hits you, but like, if you're interested, I'd love to make something with you. And I feel like that is also a great way to sort of get in the door and have somebody be like, oh wow, I really understand the visual like value this person could add.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I think I don't want to hold you for forever. We could do a podcast we could do an infinite podcast if you'd like. But it was great talking with you. Just where can people find you and your work, and like your social media, website? Like where can we find that?
Yeah, my work is all on my website, which is just hadleyhillel.com, or you can find my Instagram, which is just at Hadley Hillel. And yeah, those are really the two major places that you can find kind of anything. I'd say the Instagram is the most up to date, where most of my recent work is. But yeah, that's the best spot to find everything.
Awesome.
Perfect. Yeah, and if anybody's watching wants to check out Hadley and all the stuff that he does, the links will be down in the description as well. In terms of me, I'm at onkar.dp on Instagram. Jake, where are you?
I am at Jake Rossbell on Instagram.
And if you want to watch our previous episode that we did where we talked with Jeff Fong, he did 52 short films in 1 year. That's been on screen for the past, I know, it's crazy. One a week, but that's been on screen for the past 20 seconds. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We hope you have a great day.